we're going to talk about that ending to this episode in a little bit. But first, I want to talk about last week's episode, and because there's some things that happened in it that I want to talk about, and why I didn't get to freaking, do a review, and that's because I was at E3, and I was freaking partying with Ravi and Major, and we were throwing a freaking rager in LA, and it was awesome. But no, in all actuality, I didn't get to film the video because I was at E3, the video game convention, and didn't get to really play any video games, but by a stroke of luck, after the convention ended, I got to run into freaking Raul and Rob, from freaking iZombie, and it was awesome. The dudes are really cool dudes in person, and they're just as cool as they are on the show, and it was just really awesome to finally meet them and get to chat with them. And yeah, so it was awesome meeting you guys. But now, let's go ahead and jump into this freaking last week's episode review, because there are a few things I want to touch on before we get into this amazingly crazy episode that happened this week. First thing I want to talk about from last week's episode is the whole three-way zombie eating of brains. I thought was freaking like the coolest scene on this damn show. Like, it was so awesome that Liv and Blaine and Donnie were all just eating the dude's brain, and they're like, yeah, and they all had the same visions, and they had their, like, oh, Donnie was like, did we just have a three-way? Like, that was just a cool moment to see in zombies actually bonding together and hanging out with each other. I mean, we see that in the shows all the time, but these were three characters that we really, really know about. So I thought that was a really cool dynamic of last week's episode. Also, did I not tell you that freaking Major's girlfriend was crazy, and she was probably like a freaking, I want to be a celebrity on Insta or whatever. I told you, but at the same time, she actually did the other thing I thought she was doing, and was trying to show Major's lighter side, and that he's not the chaos killer, and that he's actually a fun-loving guy, although it seems like she just more humiliated him than she actually, like, helped him out. So I told you guys that there was something wrong with that girl, and that she was more than likely just trying to, feed off of his fame of being the chaos killer. But she did both things I said, which is really crazy. Lastly, fuck you, Rachel. I can't believe you went and betrayed Ravi like that. I thought you were gonna come into this freaking show, and you and Ravi were gonna be like, but no, you had to be a freaking reporter. Why is it that reporters always suck in these freaking comic book shows? All the time, except for Gotham. They're not so bad there, but then they left the Star, and then I guess it's still so bad. So why do reporters always suck in these shows? Seriously though, I thought Rachel was actually going to be like someone that was going to be able to help out Ravi, somebody that was actually going to be by Ravi's side with him going through all of this stuff, and she was just going to want to be like somebody that gets to learn about zombies. But no, this bitch was a freaking reporter and just straight up got all of her zombie information from Ravi, and then let's just segue to the next episode, has the freaking audacity to come back after she takes a picture of Liv, freaking Ravi's best friend, puts it on the front page of a newspaper. She comes back with cheap-ass coffee and then wants to ask more questions to Ravi? Bitch, you crazy! Seriously though, who does this rate? Like, is it indecent? Is that the word? I don't think that's the right word. But how ridiculously dumb do you have to be to basically fuck somebody over on the front page and then go back to them to try to get more answers? Rachel, fuck you. I don't even want to see you around my boy Ravi anymore. Like, that was some BS. And thank you, Ravi, for not getting lost in the sauce with a pretty girl. And you were like, and she was like, I'll call you later. And you were like, please don't, bitch. That was low-key one of my favorite moments of the show, because you know what? I love when characters stand up for themselves and don't be like, okay, I'll give you a second chance. Nah, man, when people fuck up, sometimes you gotta cut them loose. Okay, so we're just gonna go ahead and jump into the rest of this episode, and I'm gonna I might jump all over the place, but everything is like so interconnected, I don't really have a way to go through things. So the first thing I want to talk about is we saw that freaking Harley was a zombie. He became what he hated, and it was just so insane. That's like a metaphor or whatever, symbolism, whatever the fuck they call it. But yeah, so we saw Harley become a zombie, and he's just like, all right. That means he must have got scratched during the whole brawl, during, when Liv and Blaine saved Donnie. So that was interesting to see that he actually became a zombie. I wasn't expecting that. We'll talk more about Harley in a minute because of that ending, holy shit. But we got to see freaking Ravi's boss come back, and it was funny because right before this episode, I was like, man, I really hope iZombie brings back Ravi's boss, because I don't want that storyline to be like they just fucked and then nothing ever happened from there. Like, that was a big thing. Like, she was just sleeping with Ravi and then now she's just gone forever. So I'm glad they brought her back and essentially ended her story because bitch got murdered. She was found in an alleyway with the very interesting details that, you know, apparently she was beat in the back of the head and she was killed from blunt trauma to the head. And it seems like somebody placed her body there. Very interesting that that she was placed farther from her hotel or whatever. Although her death is totally starting to put the pieces together on my theory about Chase Graves. We'll talk about Chase Graves in a minute because, oh, Liv, you a bad girl. But speaking about Ravi's boss, we found out what she's been working on, and she's been working with the CDC to try to find out about this new slew, like, you know, this virus or whatever that's come in from Paris or whatever. And a lot of people are thinking that it is the zombie virus and that it's not just some crazy flu, or maybe that they're trying to actually think that, oh, like, oh yeah, there's just somebody sick, there's an antidote, blah, 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 but it's actually the zombie virus, which would be very interesting because if it came from Paris, that means there's freaking zombies in Paris. And don't, I mean, this isn't really actually something that's true, but I think it was season 1 or 2, there was that one girl, and I remember her very vividly because I was so pissed in that episode that she got away with murder, was when, like, she was dating that one guy, and she actually convinced that guy to take the fall for her, and then she moved to Paris or some shit like that. What if that girl was a freaking zombie? Wouldn't that be a legit freaking storyline? Because I remember that episode, oh, so vividly, because I can't believe that girl got away. And I believe that's the only person that's ever got away in one of these things. So, I don't know, I thought that was really awesome and crazy. But yeah, so apparently there might be zombies in Paris. At least that's what I'm thinking. But what really matters here is that, Clive and everybody had to actually interview other people on this plane. The last 4 people that Ravi's boss was interviewing to try to find out if they were the ones maybe carrying the virus or anything like that. And we got introduced to classic racist white old lady. And it was just ridiculous. If you just felt like a little bit awkward during that scene, welcome to the real world and the life of a brown guy. And it doesn't even matter what you look like altogether. If you're brown, people assume shit about you. Like, I've been called everything from Hispanic to Arabic to everything. I'm just like, what? But hey, people just like to assume. But just hearing that scene and having Ravi freaking talk about, like, he was like, oh, so you're saying chic, and he looked like a Muslim, and like he was just calling out everything, and that lady was like, yes. And like, it was just so insane. And then freaking iZombie hits you. She was just like, oh, he just looked like he didn't care about life. And then iZombie does the best thing and shows the character she was talking about. And he's literally taking care of his kid and answering very nicely because people are people, bitches. The ignorance in the world freaking destroys me sometimes. But yeah, it's just like, thank you. The writing on this show is amazing. Like, I love it. And I don't know, they hit you with real world shit, but then they show you that it's not all bad. And I don't know, I love this show because they get on some deep, serious shit sometimes. Side note, I freaking love that Liv ate Ravi's boss's brain and then had the Ravi visions. That was awkward for me even watching, but fucking hilarious. Liv was just like, like, it was just so hilarious to see that. And Ravi was in it. He was like, did you see it? Like, it was just, I love it. I feel like any friend would do that to another friend. But moving on to the freaking passengers on that plane, we got the freaking reveal that the last person that they were interviewing switched planes with some other, girl. That girl happened to be the friend of that dude that hung himself's daughter. But we found out that that daughter's mother is the freaking lady that works at freaking Fillmore Graves. It's all coming full circle, everybody. I told you that Fillmore Graves is dealing with some shady freaking shit, and I wouldn't be surprised if they want the zombie outbreak to be the thing. Oh, but we ain't even done yet. We ain't even done yet. Since Liv ate Ravi's boss's brain, she's got all her personalities like we know of, and we found out that Ravi's boss, loved picking up gentlemen at the bars, and she might have picked up Chase Graves before. For one, we saw Liv pick up Chase Graves in this episode, and I was so shocked by that. I was like, Liv, fight it, Liv, fight it, Liv. But no, she freaking went into her desires. Like, oh. Anyways, we found out that Chase Graves has been staying at that hotel where that bar is. I believe that's what was happening. And he easily knows that Liv eats everybody. Shut up, phone. Liv eats everybody's brains at that morgue. So, you know the dude's a smart guy. He more than likely put 2 and 2 together that Liv was gonna eat her brain to figure out who murdered her. So, memory card stop. He's gotta put a stop to Liv knowing about who murdered her. Also, we know from Ravi's boss's belongings that she wrote D, or was it 17D, which was a seat number on a plane, and we know those same napkins were in Chase Graves' room, and it said room 242, and I believe that was his room, meaning Chase Graves came across freaking Ravi's boss, and he probably killed her because he knew that she was onto the zombie virus thing, and he needed to put a stop to it because the freaking girl that would have started that virus is actually the daughter of the chick that works at Chase Graves. I should say Fillmore Graves, not Chase Graves, but works for Chase Graves. It's coming full circle. That is what is going on, and we're gonna get some answers next week in the finale because, man, oh man, I'm telling you that Fillmore Graves is behind all of this stuff. The blowing up of the helicopter, the starting of the virus, the stealing of the cures, because they don't want to be human anymore. They want zombies to rule the world, and I guarantee you that's what's happening. But let's talk about the biggest thing that happened in this episode, and that was that ending. But man, first we need to talk about how, you know, Major Chase Graves found out that he was a human and they had to let him go. So Major has no job anymore. He doesn't really have anything. And of course, when Major's at his lowest, who shows up? A pretty girl that he's gonna bang. And that was Natalie. It was super awesome to see Natalie return to the show. And, you know, she was very playful wearing one of his shirts that he's been humiliated by. But I thought this was really awesome that Natalie returned, and it seemed like her and Major, because of course Lucky Major just gets every beautiful girl all the time, you know, that they were going to start a relationship, and he was going to leave to freaking Italy with her. And I thought that would have been kind of cool, and I kind of thought it was going to happen because, well, everything's going to shit for him in Seattle, and the season's about to end, so he could easily leave to Italy and be there for a while, and maybe come back next year, say, you know, oh, the relationship didn't work out, blah, 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 I'm back. But yeah, I really thought it was gonna happen. Fast forward to freaking Major's going away party or send-off party with all of his bros, and the world just changes in an instant when freaking Harley shows up to the actual party, and all the bros are like, yo man, you know this weird guy? He's over there just kind of like being all weird. The bros turn around Harley, and they're like, yo man, you gotta get out of here. And Harley's all like, oh, zombies are all not normal people. We're scum or whatever. He opens up his jacket, and he's a suicide bomber. And he blows up the freaking house with all of the zombies in it, and guess who was in the house? Freaking Natalie. She was right next to Harley and blew up. I cannot believe that freaking happened. She just got back on the show and now she's dead? That moment was totally what the fuck. I was not expecting it. Somebody on Twitter was like, did you see iZombie yet? And I was like, nah. And they were like, you need to watch iZombie. And I thought something like, you know, I thought something crazy was gonna happen. I was not expecting a suicide bomber at a zombie party to happen. This was so crazy to see in this show. I mean, and it makes total sense. Like, I've talked about it all season, how this whole, like, just the season has had this underlining tone about what's going on in society today, how people are hating each other for, you know, the color of their skin and, like, their religion and all this shit. There's been all this symbolism all season, and then we get somebody we get Harley, who's this person that hates zombies, that think they need to die, that they're not people, and he freaking suicide bombs a zombie party, and it was just so perfect for this show. iZombie just showed us, like, it's the world we live in today. I mean, unfortunately, there have been so many attacks in London and Europe, everything recently, that this episode just really hits close to home. I mean, we saw everything that happened. We saw that one guy that got so crazy and went to that Ariana Grande concert. And this is shit that happens. And it's because people feel so extreme and so, like, disgusting. These people are disgusting. I mean, just like Harley was. Like, Harley was this disgusting person that was driven by these crazy thoughts that, you know, zombies need to be murdered. They need to be destroyed. They're not people. And it was just so insane to see it play out. Like, we've seen this character of Harley just play out, and ultimately, he went to the biggest extreme. I hope I'm making sense there, but I was genuinely shocked by this episode because, you know, it hits close to home. I mean, I think we see that. We're on social media. I mean, if you guys follow me on Twitter, you know I always tweet about this kind of stuff, and, like, I always try to make sure you guys are okay if you're in those areas, you know, and I hope everybody is okay when these things happen, but unfortunately, people aren't, and we saw that in this episode tonight. We saw just characters that we've known all season, just, they're gone in an instant, and that was insane, and it sucked. Like I said, Natalie had just came back. It looked like she was going to start a life with Major, and now that's gone. Like, Major's life, again, has changed like that. It's insane. Shit is going to hit the fan next week. We're going to find out. I'm telling you, it's got to be Chase Graves. Like, there just has to be something there. I mean, he's not the one that's going to call it. He's not the one that started the bombing, but, you know, I think he is the one behind everything else. And, man, that was insane. I'm interested to see what's going to happen. And I don't know. I think everybody's going to get discovered zombies. So it's either like there's going to be like this huge outbreak, or there's going to be like this crazy, like, oh my god, there's zombies everywhere. And season 4 is going to be crazy because everybody's going to know about zombies, or shit's just going to blow over. But I am really interested to see what's going to happen next week. But I do want to know your guys' thoughts on this crazy episode. And even if you had something to say about last week's episode, but this ending was so shocking. And I just want to applaud the iZombie writers, because iZombie, you know, I know we talk about a lot of comic book shows on this channel, but iZombie is genuinely one of my favorite shows. It's constantly making me laugh, but it's also shocking me with its such amazing writing. And yeah, I appreciate the people that work on this show. But guys, remember, if you ever want to support this channel, do check out the Patreon like these awesome people did. Or you can do the OG thing and give this video a like and share it with all of your iZombie buddies. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for all things nerdy and geeky on this channel. As always, I am your host, JUICEbox. Remember, when you wake up in the morning, ask yourself something. Have I had my daily dose of juice? See you guys next time. Bam!